Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to this Hall of Fame episode of The Educated Fan. My name is Brandon, and I am joined here by your host, my best friend, Andrew Moore. I am in your office here, right next to you, trying not to look at you while I talk. Listen, guys, we're doing things different this week. We were at the Hall of Fame yesterday. Went and saw Peyton get inducted. We did not get to see Edge as the day before, but we did go see the main man, the sheriff. And Andrew and I are recording together today, so he can't see my face because we're recording a little different. Hell, I got this microphone all up in my mouth. He's got the microphone looking bigger in his head. But we'll get it figured out. Buddy, what a day yesterday.
It was a great day. It is kind of weird. I mean, originally when we started the podcast, this is how we did it, except we were actually looking at each other. Now it's kind of weird that you're right on over there. You're not able to look at each other. But
this is improvisation.
Yeah. Brandon's home to go see Peyton in the Hall of Fame. And man, what a day it was. It was just the culmination of such a great career, and seeing Peyton go on that stage and just his appreciation for not only the history of the sport, but then what he wants to see the sport become, just kind of brought it all full circle. For me, got to see the Hall of Fame for the first time, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I think I was in there for 2.5 hours, and I could have spent another couple hours in there just looking at everything. So definitely going to have to go back. And if you're a football fan, even if you're not a football nerd like us, definitely go check out the Hall of Fame. It's pretty great stuff. How was your Hall of Fame experience?
It was great. So here's how I'll explain it to you guys. Okay, you need to go to the Hall of Fame on a weekend that's not Hall of Fame weekend.
Right.
Because that's the only way you're going to have time to get through everything and read all the stuff you want to read, not feel rushed looking at the busts, not have to wait over an hour just to go see the busts. So you definitely want to go on a weekend that it's not the induction ceremony time. But with that said, you also want to go one time when it is the Hall of Fame induction, because you want to go see the speeches. You want to see, the crowd. There's a merchandise tent that's not normally up, year round, just during that weekend. There's other activities and stuff I didn't get to do because of time constraints, and I had my grandpa and my mom with me, and they can't run around quite as fast as I can. But also the opportunity, Andrew, to possibly run into some famous people, some pretty cool people. I'm walking into the hall, and I look to my right, and I go, that's fucking Cooper Manning. Like, oh my God. So I there were people surrounding him. I didn't walk up to him and ask for a picture or anything. Everybody else already was, but I did just kind of turn around and get a selfie with him, took a picture of him. I got a picture of Cooper Manning. Then I'm up in the hall, actually leaving the room with all the busts, and Chris Berman walks in the door and goes walking down the hallway. We're sitting in a chair. Turns, he gives me a fist bump. I should have said whoop. He probably never gets that, so he would have loved it.
Definitely.
And then he shakes my grandpa's hand, says, "How you doing, young man?" My grandpa's practically dying walking around this place without a walker or something. And then, what's his name? David Baker, head of the Hall of Fame?
President of the Hall of Fame.
He comes walking out of this, I can't remember what that room was called. Andrew, it was right by, when you're walking on the second floor, that glass room with the big TV, like a lounge-looking area. What was that called?
It was like the room of the gold jackets.
No. That's not where David Baker walked out of.
Okay.
So anyway, either way, he walks out, most soft-spoken, gigantic man you've ever met. He said hello. Let me take a picture with him. And then at the end of the night, we're waiting on a shuttle, and Gary Kubiak walks out, and I'm staring at him. He's walking, and I'm like, that's fucking Gary Kubiak. And I hear somebody go, Gary, and he didn't hear him, but I went, Gary! I fucking yelled, Gary Kubiak. And he goes, yo, I was like, can I take a picture? And he drops something, and I'm like, oh, shit, this guy's going to hate me. He waves me on. He's like, come on, come take it. Yeah. So I ran over, took a picture with him. Super Bowl winning coach with Peyton Manning. No big deal. So, yeah.
Close personal friend of Brandon Moses.
Close personal friend. These are the things, that's the reason I would say go to the Hall of Fame the weekend it happens. That's really cool. But I am definitely going to go, again, on an off week just to check it out. I'm sure Paige would enjoy that. Maybe, probably not. She's not as big of a nerd as me. But then I think I'll go when Reggie and Robert go in together next year.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be fantastic.
I mean, your seats were kind of up in the stands. I was on the field for the ceremony.
Yeah.
Got to be close with Jim Irsay. Jim Irsay, okay. So Jim Irsay, this is how big of a baller he is. Everyone else is kind of walking to their seats. Not Jim Irsay. He's getting escorted on a golf cart to his seat. Just through, and there's not much room for a golf cart to go. Jim Irsay was close by. I got to see Jeff Saturday, Tart Glenn, some of the old Colts that surrounded and protected Peyton Manning and blocked for Edgerrin James. And really that's my first time being up close with those guys. But yeah, 100%. The Hall of Fame, like I said, if you're a fan of football, you just need to go to the Hall of Fame just to experience it. There's so many things there that I didn't know, just seeing kind of how the game has evolved and really the changes that have happened throughout the years was pretty incredible to see.
Yeah. So Peyton's speech. Let's start with Edgerrin James' speech because we weren't there, but we watched it, obviously. Edgerrin James' speech was so much better than I expected it to be. I don't know what I expect. I think I expected it to be short. I don't think I expected him to use his whole 8 minutes, which I'm pretty sure he did. I didn't expect him. I just didn't expect him to be such a talkative guy, I guess. I mean, I see him on, Instagram and Twitter and stuff all the time, but his speech was really good. Thanked all the right people. I thought it was really cool that Jim Irsay was the one that presented him. And I believe Jim said in the presentation something along the lines of, if I ever had a son, I would want it to be him. And that was really awesome.
Right. Yeah. He said, if I ever had a son, I'd want him to be just like Edgerrin James. And it's because of what Edgerrin James stood for. I mean, yeah, he had the gold teeth, he had the dreadlocks, and I wrote this in my piece about him. A lot of people didn't think that was going to work in the NFL because that stuff just wasn't around at that time. And Edge never stopped being Edge. I mean, he did it his way. And the thing is, he came in and he worked every single day.
Yeah.
There are stories of Irsay talking about Edgerrin James coming in at 3 a.m. and doing his workouts. It was his combination of work ethic and how seriously he took the game of football. And then when you combine it with Peyton Manning's preparation and work ethic, those two, and this is what he said during his speech. He said, we couldn't have been more different as people, but on the football field, we were connected like brothers. And that's really what they were.
Right.
Peyton Manning talks about it all the time, that one of his favorite teammates, if not his favorite teammate to play with of all time, was Edgerrin James. And that says a lot. Peyton Manning played with a lot of great players, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Jeff Saturday, and then all the Broncos that you could go on and on about.
Yeah.
So, but the thing about Edgerrin James is he always stuck to himself, and he did it his way. He dominated when he was healthy with the Colts. And I think even though he wasn't a part of that Super Bowl winning team, I don't think the Colts get to that point where they can win a Super Bowl without Edgerrin James, just for building that culture, building that the winning ways of the 2000s Indianapolis Colts. So I was very excited to see Edgerrin James go in. His speech, you just love how he ended his speech. And I know people probably make it so it gets old, but he goes, I went from starting my career with gold teeth to ending it with a gold jacket.
Gold teeth to gold jacket. That's the last time it's going to be said by us because I loved it the first time I heard it. I love that he still said it in his speech. I don't love that every single human being on the planet has been talking about it, saying it in their tweets, and
it's an iconic line.
I know. Let's just put it this way. I'm looking at a picture. This is a painting of 4 Colts players in the RCA Dome. There's been a lot of good Colts players, even that played with Peyton Manning, and the 4 you think of are the 4 in this picture, at least on offense: Reggie Wayne, Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Edgerrin James. He's one of the big 4 on this team. Since I've been alive, most certainly. So yeah, then I started getting a little musty in the living room watching that one. So I knew I was in for hell yesterday. I was in for some serious trouble with the Peyton Manning speech. My grandpa called it the second best Hall of Fame speech that he's ever heard. And it was up there. What'd you think about the beginning, Andrew? I didn't love story time. I know you did. I know you liked it more, but it just felt like he could have been filling that in with something different, I guess. But he's given so many of these speeches when he left the Colts, when he retired, and then at the the statue unveiling. So he's done this so many times. He can only say so much. So what did you think of the story in the beginning? His dream.
I honestly liked it because
no doubt it was cool.
It was, but I think what he was getting at though was, Peyton Manning's preparation, legendary. It's nobody matches what he did, and you could just tell the preparation he put into this speech.
Yeah,
I was counting last night when I was going through his whole speech. He said the 32 different Hall of Famers in his speech, and in the dream he was talking about how he was.
Did you write that in your article?
I did write
that. Hey, FYI, guys, great article written by Andrew Moore about more in depth just on Peyton's speech last night. Carry on, sir.
Thank you. But yeah, I think it just shows Peyton Manning's appreciation for the game of football. I mean, we've always known that he really respects the history, but to go honestly, he said he had a dream, and this all kind of culminates from John Madden always said that the busts in the Hall of Fame, when the lights go out, nobody's there, they whisper to each other, and that they'll scrimmage with one another in there. Just kind of like a cool thing to think about, that all of those players would get together and have the most epic game of football of all time. So he talks about how his coaches are Bill Cowher and Jimmy Johnson, and how he fakes a handoff. He audibles and fakes a handoff to Barry Sanders, throws it to Michael Irvin, who laterals it to Steve Largent, and it just goes on and on and on, naming defensive players that are going after him. And I think I enjoyed it just because I love the history of the game as well, and I think that just shows his complete and total respect for not only.
And that was just the beginning of the complete and total respect he has for the game in that speech.
Not only for the people that he played with, but just the respect for all of the players that came before him, that paved the way for the National Football League to be what it is today. And I think that was his way of really showing his appreciation for that, just by naming all of those guys that honestly Peyton Manning's looked up to through his career and through his life of watching the NFL and watching and being a part of football.
Yeah. I don't know. My mom literally goes, what the fuck is he talking about? She got a little lost in all that. But like you mentioned, just the sheer fact that he was like in the moment naming off all these players. I guess not in the moment. He had it pretty planned out, but it was a cool idea. I did appreciate it. It was I just thought like, I feel like there could be something else in here right now. Don't steal the end of the speech for me.
I'm not going to steal the end of the speech. I'll say this.
I get to use that line. I'm going to tell you guys it just wrapped it up. What started to get me first, what really got me starting to tear up was when he talked about his dad. And that's when I turned and my grandpa was crying. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. My mom obviously was crying, but just a really cool story, or conversation, I guess, about how, how his dad raised him and got him into football and all this stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah, I love that. I also loved how, Peyton Manning's the ultimate prankster too.
Yeah.
So he immediately starts his speech by cracking jokes about how Ray Lewis.
God, it was funny.
Ray Lewis just finished his speech right before Peyton went on, and Ray Lewis went into the Hall of Fame in 2018. That was great.
Ray Lewis is the reason they have these limits on now, because what he'd ramble on for 45 minutes?
He went for 45 minutes on his speech.
Oh my gosh. Absurd. And that's the reason we only got 7 minutes and 40 seconds out of Peyton last night.
And then he was talking about how when Tom Brady gets in on his first ballot in the year 2035, because Tom Brady just won't stop playing football, that he's only going to be able to post on Instagram. And the amount of boos that Tom Brady received when his name was mentioned, number one, loved it. But number two, I'm going to give him his credit. He took it like a good sport. I mean, he gave funny. Some jaw back. It was great. It was great.
Funny. I was cracking up laughing. Everybody's booing, and it puts him on screen. Listen, Tom Brady sitting in Peyton Manning's section for the game was not news. Everybody made it sound like news.
They're good friends.
Wasn't
they
news.
Really are.
They're good friends. They have been. They weren't in the start of their careers. They were fiery young men, that were going at each other's throats. But I mean, they've become friends over all these years. But yeah, Tom Brady comes on and everybody starts booing and he acts surprised kind of. He's like, what do we do? Come on, come on. That's what he kind of looked like, but he knew it was coming. We all got a real good chuckle out of it. The Ray Lewis thing was funny. Yeah, I you know what? I really should have re-listened to it a couple times. I'm kind of blanking, and I was an emotional period of my life when I was watching it live.
Right. And let's just talk about the end and how really the whole message that he really wanted to put out was the game has given us all so many incredible moments. And I mean, football is a huge part of all of our lives. And now it's time for us, just with everything.
If you're listening to this show, most of you, I know a few people don't, but if you're listening to this show, you love the Indianapolis Colts and you love Peyton Manning.
Right. And his main message was we need to continue to be ambassadors and promote the game. Just because you think about it, this last year with COVID, with just everything going on in the world, it's caused a lot of turmoil in football too. I mean, there's a lot of stadiums, a lot of fans didn't get to go to games last year, and now it's looking like we're going to have pretty full capacity stadiums, hopefully for most of the league. And it's looking like that we might be getting back to some sort of normal as far as in terms of being able to go to football games. And not only that, but really just kind of promoting the safety of the game, promoting that passion and that fire that we all have for football. And Peyton Manning said he's not done with the game and he's not going to let it die out. And I think that's what I wrote in my article. It's something that we can all get behind too, because I mean, we all love football.
Yeah.
Let's make sure it doesn't die. Let's make sure that the game continues to get better, because there are still plenty of aspects of this game that could be well improved. We need to kind of work towards that, not only the people that are in the league, but as fans as well, to try to promote that and try to push that in a positive way. Exactly.
Well, not only that, but I mean, he brought up the safety concerns in the game of football and how it's deterring, parents from wanting their kids to play at a young age, especially. And that's where, the root of the game is kids growing up to want to be in the NFL. If kids stop playing football, we're not going to have the NFL eventually. So yeah, he's an incredible representation of the league, Andrew. And actually there's a new vote going to be coming out eventually. Peyton Manning for commissioner. That was my Aunt Doe's idea. Vonda Young, good idea. Peyton Manning commissioner. I don't think he has much experience running a multi-billion-dollar company.
I think Peyton could be able to handle it.
I think he could. Maybe not commissioner, but there's definitely some positions in the executive branch of the NFL other than just owner. I think that because we know he wants to buy part of a team or a whole team eventually, but other than owner, I think he could make a big impact as an actual NFL employee, maybe more so than as an owner, but who knows. And Andrew, just to wrap it up, and this might become a regular saying in the podcast, because I know he said it before, but last night it just hit different. He wrapped up his speech, God bless you all, and God bless football. And I went, ugh. Can't breathe.
Iconic line. And for me personally, I mean, we all love Peyton Manning as Colts fans, but and I wrote this in my story to kind of cap it off too. If Peyton Manning's not an Indianapolis Colt, I don't know if I really have that love for the game of football that I do now. The Indianapolis Colts might be the Los Angeles Colts for all we know. Lucas Oil Stadium isn't there without Peyton Manning. Think of all of our lives as Colts fans, or even as just fans of football, how different your lives would be if Peyton Manning wasn't the Indianapolis Colts quarterback. It's really kind of just something to think about, and how big of a difference that, I mean, I don't want to say he's an idol, but the thing is, these athletes, they especially someone like Peyton Manning, and who creates a bond with not only the city of Indianapolis but the entire state of Indiana. It has a huge impact on your lives. And I think that was just when you're taking a step back and you're thinking about that and thinking about how big of an impact and what would be if Peyton Manning wasn't on the Colts. It's just very surreal to think about. And last night I just kept thinking to myself, thank God that Peyton Manning was an Indianapolis Colt, because I don't know how my life would be if Peyton Manning was not a Colt, if he didn't display the greatness, not only on the field, but in the community that he did. So he's never going to see this, but thank you, Peyton Manning, for everything that you've done for the Colts, for the city of Indiana. God bless you, and God bless football.
I'll just tell you straight up, Peyton Manning doesn't go to the Colts. They probably don't get good for a long time. I never fall in love with the Colts because let's face it, I liked the Colts when they were bad. But the majority of my Colts, all of it, they were bad plenty of years, even when he was there. That first year, I remember Mora. I remember watching press conferences and highlights from his press conferences when I was young. Okay, but let's face it. They never get as good as they do. I probably don't fall in love with football because it's not fun to watch your favorite team get the shit kicked out of them all the time until you really love them. Or maybe I just like another team. I don't think offenses are quite to where they are now without Peyton Manning.
It's just the same.
We could go on all day. We could go on all day. We've already gone on 21 minutes about it. It's a different game without Peyton Manning. Without the Manning family. Started with Archie Manning. There's a real. I had no idea that football is family. Did you see that part of the Hall of Fame? A really cool display there. It says football's family, and it's pretty much about the Manning family. So, very cool. Andrew, before we move on, we did forget our little intro here for Every Cup Begins with K. K makes these wonderful cups, tumblers, not just sports, your favorite sports teams, but other cool stuff here, as you can see. Now, what you can do is you can go over to her Facebook page. It's going to have that logo on there. Every Cup Begins with K. We tweet it out. We post it on Facebook and Instagram. Go find her. Let her know we sent you if you buy something. She's got really cool football glasses, too, that she can put logos on that she's doing for the season. These are going to make some good Christmas gifts, guys. So if you go buy anything, let her know we sent you and get your family members some cups as a little early Christmas present, maybe, to get them ready for the season. Andrew, let's move along to, I think I'm on pace here. Yep, training camp update. No, Siri, not talking to you. Stop. Turn off. Go away. Bitch.
You good over there?
Yeah, I'm good. Tourette's. Training camp update. So, it's been a week since we talked. A little over. Andrew, last week we said, Carson Wentz is probably fine. He might miss a little bit of the preseason, maybe a little less. He had surgery since we last talked to you. As a matter of fact, he had surgery the very next day. Really, really inconveniently placed surgery in times in comparison to when we released our episode and said everything's fine. And now, we're looking at Jacob Eason leading the team possibly for a couple of games. Tough start. Things are progressing. Let's talk Jacob Eason real quick.
Jacob Eason, I think the biggest thing for him is he just needs to start stacking days. So,
yes,
obviously this is still his first opportunity with the starting offense, and you do see that he is starting to improve the more reps and the more time he gets with the starters.
And we talked about that a little bit last week, but as the week's gone on, we've had a little bit better opportunity to assess that.
Right. But I still think the biggest thing with Jacob Eason is just the inconsistency. Mm-hmm. He'll go from having a pretty good day on like Tuesday, and then the very next day on a Wednesday, he'll go like 10 for 22 with a couple interceptions. And you need to start seeing him stack those days in order, if you want to feel comfortable with him really leading this team into the regular season, just because, there's a gauntlet ahead of the Colts in weeks 1 through 5. Mm-hmm. Seattle isn't going to take it easy on us just because Jacob Eason's the starter. You think Matthew Stafford's going to want to take it easy when he's wanting to go for a Super Bowl with the Rams? Titans sure as hell aren't going to do it. The Dolphins, Jacoby Brissett is playing for Tua, and he wants a revenge game.
Well, if you ask Tyler, you know what? I might ask Tyler. I don't have a lot of prep time next week for the NFC East, but I might ask Tyler if he wants to come on and talk a little Dolphins. He's going to tell you, Tua's fucking tearing it up. He's throwing the ball down the field to Jalen Waddle, blah, blah, blah. I told him Brian Flores told the defense to take it easy on that idiot because he needs some confidence building. Carry on.
But anyway, Jacob Eason, like I said, he just needs to start stacking days. And I think he has started to develop some timing, especially with the tight ends. You see him in practice really throwing it to Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox, Kylan Granson, and then Michael Pittman's just been tearing it up the entire camp like he has been. But that's really what we need to see. And this is going to be a big test this upcoming week because the Colts are having those joint practices with the Carolina Panthers. And then we play the Panthers on Sunday. That's our first preseason game.
Right.
And Frank Reich has already said Jacob Eason is going to play at least a half. The Colts are going to give him
a whole half.
Every opportunity to really take over and be prepared to be the starter for the first couple weeks of the regular season if Wentz can't play week 1. But he also has to show them that he is prepared and he is going to be able to do that come week 1.
What time's the preseason game next Sunday?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Great. I think I'm going to be drafting during the game for fantasy and watching the game. We're going to give you guys a recap of that game. Last season, we didn't have preseason games. I don't imagine I'll end up watching every single preseason game, but I'm definitely going to watch a couple. Definitely want to watch Jacob Eason.
There's only 3. You can handle
I can probably handle 3.
games.
It's so hard. It's so hard to watch.
Hey,
3rd and 4th string play. But anyway.
I gave you some battles to watch, so now you can watch those
That's
battles.
fair. Jacob Eason, though, we talked about it. I give the guy a break. Give him some time. We didn't talk about this, Andrew. He has only played football 1 out of the last 4 years, 3 years, something like that, because he had a year off because of the transfer rule. So he played in Washington for a year, and then he comes to the Colts. He's pretty much a red shirt last year, and now he's going up against, again, one of the best defenses in the league. This unit was a top 5 at one point, top 3, never fell out of the top 10 defense last year. I mean, they were very, very good. So, I mean, and they're not taking it easy. They're trying to get better. That defense is trying to get better every day, and Jacob Eason is going to be all the better for it.
Right, and so what happened was Jacob Eason originally went to Georgia, and then he got hurt.
Right.
Jake Fromm took the starting spot from him, and then Jacob Eason could never gain it back. So he was out that whole year at Georgia, transferred to Washington. Transfer rules, he had to set out a second year.
Yeah. Played
1 season at Washington, and then last year was basically a red shirt year with the Indianapolis Colts. So in the last 4 years, he's only played 1 season. Right. Now, and that can be I don't want to say it's an excuse, but that can be one of the reasons why he may have struggled in camp.
And not in the SEC anymore either.
But here's the thing. We can say that might be one of the reasons, but he needs to overcome that and overcome that quick because of the teams that are coming up here. We're not facing the Jets week 1.
No.
We're not facing the Houston Texans week 1.
Nope.
We're facing legitimate Super Bowl contenders weeks 1 through 5. And that's the thing. They're not going to give a damn if he's only played 1 out of the last 4 seasons. He's got to overcome that, and he's got to be ready because the guy we're about to talk about, while he's not there yet, he's making some things interesting in Indianapolis and Sam Ehlinger.
Jacob Eason, at this point, I feel a lot better than I did a week ago. I mean, you know what I mean? He still isn't having a great week, but you're right. He's got Sam Ehlinger breathing down his neck all of a sudden, and I don't know if there's any truth to that. We have your guys, Jake talking about it too, even at this point, and the fact that Jake's talking about it, I'm kind of like, oh, shit. But, I mean, all the fans are, they're split, okay? They're split 3 ways. Go get somebody else. Jacob Eason, okay? Give him a shot. This is when he gets the job. And then there's the people who are like, oh, Sam Ehlinger's going to take this job. I just don't see that happening. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's only going to be a couple games. We just need these guys, whichever one it is, to be good enough. Just like we needed Phil last year, to just be good enough to let our defense do well and to score some touchdowns and not turn the ball over. What are you hearing about Ehlinger?
So Sam Ehlinger's looked really good. Granted, he's been going up against the second team defense. So that's why I think we need to kind of keep this slower roll here and temper our expectations because Sam Ehlinger has looked good. I will say that. It's his movement in the pocket. It doesn't look too big for him. And the thing about Sam Ehlinger that really jumps off that doesn't necessarily look good for Jacob Eason is the decision making. Sam Ehlinger makes very quick decisions, and delivers the ball very accurately. So they're almost polar opposites. I mean, Jacob Eason is a huge 6'6", 230, has an absolute cannon for an arm, but he can be a little tentative on his throws and kind of not as quick with his decision making. Sam Ehlinger, a little bit smaller, and also Jacob Eason isn't the most mobile quarterback. Sam Ehlinger, a little bit smaller, more mobile, very quick decision maker and very good accuracy. But his arm, I would say, is average is being nice to Sam Ehlinger. He does not have a very
He does
strong
not throw the ball down the field like Jacob does. Jacob is throwing the ball down the field well.
Right. And I think this is kind of the argument that we were having this week, or kind of the kind of pick your poison in a sense. Do you want to go with Jacob Eason, who has all of the physical attributes there, but it might just not be there quite with like the decision making? Like Sam Ehlinger, I think you can be more. I think he's more NFL ready than Jacob Eason at this point, but his ceiling is not near as high as what Jacob Eason's ceiling is. So that's kind of the conundrum that the Colts are having right now. And if Jacob Eason really starts to struggle and starts regressing, then I think you might see Sam Ehlinger get a shot with the ones just to see what happens. But as of right now, the Colts are, like I have said, are giving Jacob Eason every single opportunity to prepare and show what he's got. So as of right now, there is not a quarterback controversy in Indianapolis. It's Frank Reich has said it multiple times. Jacob Eason is in the driver's seat. But if he does start to regress and Sam Ehlinger continues to excel against the twos, at some point, Ehlinger's going to get some reps. He's going to get some reps with the ones.
So Andrew can't catch my nonverbal cues right now because he's looking into my phone camera. See him. So basically what you just said, about Jacob Eason, shit. Hold on. I'm going to get back there. The train has left the station. I don't remember exactly what you said.
I can reach the soundboard now. So,
oh God, he even knew where the sad trombone button was. I don't remember exactly what you said, but it led into what I wanted to say. And it's right now, too, Frank Reich's not running an offense in practice that's game planned for Jacob Eason. Oh, here we go. You said Jacob Eason decision-making might not be there, but he has the physical attributes. Frank Reich can get around that. I mean, he did it with Jacoby Brissett, and Jacoby Brissett wouldn't throw the ball down the field. So that opens up one more thing for Jacob Eason, or for Frank Reich's play calling, I should say. Okay, Jacob Eason in a game, Frank Reich is going to game plan around the fact that that's the quarterback, and he's going to use the things that works best for him. Right now in practice, he's using practice to figure out what works best for Jacob Eason. Okay, so I do think that you throw Jacob Eason in a game, and it's still going to look a little different than in practice, again, against one of the best defenses. And in regards to Sam Ehlinger, Andrew, if we're right about our guesses about the possible use for Ehlinger being used in a Saints quarterback,
more like a Wildcat style.
If we're talking about him, using Sam Ehlinger, just even when Carson's back, just using him as a kind of gadget guy. Do we want to put him in at quarterback right now and risk him getting hurt doing that? You know what I mean? I don't know how eager Frank Reich is to put him in at quarterback position full time either.
Right.
And there's my high-level analysis, Andrew. Brandon Moses knows how to do it.
We're about halfway through camp right now. And like I said, this week is probably going to be the most important week of camp just because we're going to see Jacob Eason going up against a defense for multiple days, a different defense than the Indianapolis Colts. So we're going to get a gauge on how he is against a different team. Granted, it's against the Carolina Panthers. It's not against a great team. Yeah. But at the same time, it's a different defense. So we'll see that in practice, and then we'll see how he performs in the game on Sunday. And then we just got to go from there. So the thing is, though, the Colts have had a lot of other stars in camp. And you're right, Jacob Eason doesn't have to do it alone. Jonathan Taylor has probably been one of the standouts of camp.
Yep.
And I would not be surprised if we get a heavy dose of Taylor, Nyheim Hines, Marlon Mack, very early, especially if Jacob Eason is the starting quarterback.
Pittman having a good camp. Mike Strawn.
Strawn is making a name for
Didn't
himself.
Jake say to you that he thinks maybe even Mike Strawn might not be taking that last position, but he might be pushing himself up one roster spot?
He said if Mike Strawn continues what he's doing, the more practices that are happening, the more of a safe bet Mike Strawn makes this roster. And one of my main battles for training camp was that last wide receiver spot, because I think Ashton Doolin, while Ashton Doolin's been out with an injury recently and hasn't really been able to show it, Ashton Doolin has proven that he's a fantastic gunner and special teams player for the Colts. Yeah. That's why I think his position is more safe. Mike Strawn and Desmond Patman, they're both big-bodied wide receivers. They're both more raw on the route running capabilities. But the thing is, Mike Strawn is showing out in camp. He's especially in the position of the individual one-on-one drills against the cornerbacks. Mike Strawn has beaten Kenny Moore. He's beaten Xavier Rhodes. He's showing out. And Desmond Patman, I mean, the last couple of days he's shown more progress, and you start to hear his name more. But other than that, Desmond Patman, you are not hearing his name at all. So again, it's camp. We got to see it in these preseason games, and camp stars and preseason stars don't necessarily translate into regular season stars, but it's a good start for Michael Strawn, and he is starting to make a name for himself and more establish himself as a safe bet to make the 53-man roster.
And the way I put it on Twitter was we talked about this battle before camp started, and I've heard Michael Strawn's name a lot, and I literally, until just the other day, had not heard Patman's name a single time. And I'm not bashing him. I'm just talking about what I've seen and heard on Twitter, what I've heard from you, what we've heard from, the guys you work with Sports Illustrated. We just haven't heard his name. The other beat writers aren't talking about him. So that's it. Andrew, we're still on quarterback, though. That was a little tangent that wasn't planned. Veteran quarterback options, Andrew. And people will not shut the fuck up. Sorry, Darwin, about they won't shut up about Nick Foles and Gardner Minshew, and who else do we have on the list we were going to talk about?
Old man
Rivers. Oh my, Phil Rivers is coming back, guys. Philip Rivers said, yeah, I would consider coming back if a team goes on a run and they ended up needing somebody. Anybody going on a run week 1? So let's just go ahead and toss that one out. Let's talk about Nick fucking Foles.
That ain't happening either. Frank Reich has said this is Carson Wentz's team, and he knows what would happen if Nick Foles was brought into this team. Nick Foles can say all he wants to be in Indianapolis.
That was
Colt.
Nick Foles marketing himself.
It ain't going to happen. No. And back in the Phillip Rivers thing, Phillip Rivers literally said that if late in the season, if a team needed a quarterback, he'd be available. But the thing is, Colts don't need a quarterback late in the season. They need a quarterback now. And Phillip Rivers is coaching high school football in Alabama. He's not going to be available now. As of right now, and I'll give you guys this insider information, the Colts are not looking to trade for a veteran quarterback. And they're not looking to pick up a veteran quarterback on the free agent market either. So I'm sorry, Blake Bortles. I'm sorry, Robert Griffin III. You're not going to be an Indianapolis Colt.
Robert Griffin III just got a job in a booth.
Right.
So he doesn't even want the job.
So as of right now, the Colts are rolling with Jacob Eason. If you can either like it or not, but that's what they're going to do. And honestly, if not now, then when? We need to find out what Jacob Eason has. Yeah. Otherwise, because he's not going to be able to show it backing up Carson Wentz.
That's what we were saying. That's what we were saying before camp. That's what Chris said earlier this year. I want to see what this kid's got. Here we go. Okay, Chris Ballard is not going, he is especially not going to trade away any more draft capital next year for a quarterback who might play 2-3 games. No, it's not going to happen. I cannot believe people are talking about this. This is probably the most frustrating time as a in-deep fan who pays attention to the little shit. This has got to be the most frustrating time to watch national media like ESPN and just the national news like that, because they just don't, none of them have their fucking ears to the ground and really know anything about any of these franchises, especially not the smaller market ones like the Colts. They don't know. They don't know anything. Stop watching ESPN if you want some serious camp news about your team.
Instead, go to Horseshoe Huddle or theeducatedfan.com.
I cannot believe you just advertised your fucking Sports Illustrated internship.
Hey, I said theeducatedfan.com.
Said Horseshoe Huddle first.
Because
I'm calling Jake. I'm calling Jake. Unfortunately, you're fired. All right. Get over the veteran QB talk. It's just not going to happen. Big Q, surgery the day after Carson Wentz. Same time, same place.
Pretty much same injury.
Same injury. So if we know anything about Big Q, it's going to be fine. He'll be back probably week 1, if not week 2, because he has to be back by week 2. I have to see him and Aaron Donald go at it. It might be our last chance. You never know what a big defensive interior lineman's going to do. So we need him back week 2.
Even if he is back week 2, though, and it's going to suck because we're going to be very let down when Aaron Donald is just going up against
running away from Big Q,
Mark Glowinski or Sam Tevy the entire game.
Yeah, Sam Tevy, that's going to be tough. Oh, one more thing about Jacob Eason. For God's sake, the guy's center and the whole left of the line is all backups. Get the guy a break. Carry on. Big Q.
So basically he had basically the same injury that Carson Wentz did. Now, it's a little bit different in that Carson Wentz's injury stemmed from an injury that happened in high school, and Quentin Nelson's injury stems from an abnormality in his foot. He was basically he was born with it, and it just a little bit of the bone chipped off there. They were able to remove it, and Big Q is already fired up, and Frank Reich said he's detailed his plan already, so that way he's back by week 1. We'll see if it happens. I wouldn't put it past Quentin Nelson to be ready by week 1, just the type of person he is. But yeah, if he's out for those games, that is absolutely huge, and Jacob Eason really wouldn't have a chance if we were dealing with Sam Tevy, Chris Reed as that left side rather than having Quentin Nelson out there.
And the other thing, Andrew, about Carson's injury and Big Q's injury, the positive side is this is something that when you have this surgery, it's fixed. It's gone. It's not going to re-aggravate. Now, the rehab is still important because you can, if you don't take it the right way, you can slow the healing process and the rebuilding of the muscles. But it realistically, like the surgery itself, fixed. It's not going to be a re-injury unless somebody broke their foot again and 3 years from now jostled a bone. You know what I mean? It's done. It's over. That's it. The defense is dominating still. I don't think we really need to talk about that. If you have anything you want to say, go ahead. But the defense is dominating.
I'm just going to highlight some players.
Sure. Okay.
Like especially the pass rush. The pass rush.
Oh,
and I think this is something that Colts fans can either be really excited about or they can be kind of pessimistic about in the sense of who they're going up. Skeptical. That's a great word. So Kwity Paye has been very good. He's been throwing Sam Tevy around like a rag doll.
That's the only one.
So is Kemoko Turay. And Kemoko Turay, though, he's really shown that burst all along the line of scrimmage. Not only against Sam Tevy, but Kemoko Turay's looked good against Braden Smith. And Braden Smith just got paid to be the second highest paid right tackle in the league. Kemoko Turay is healthy. He's flying off the ball, and he's really showing the work that he's put in with Robert Mathis and with the Colts defensive line coaches.
Could end up starting. We talked about it. If he has a real good camp, we could see it definitely by the end of the year.
I still think Tyquan Lewis will be that starter.
By the end of the year?
As of right now, by the end of the year, just because of but just because of his ability against the run.
He's standing these guys on the end up. He's standing the tackles up, and he's blasting through them. I mean, that one video that kind of took its way around Twitter. I mean, Sam Tevy was standing straight up, and he probably wanted to get a little lower. But you mentioned that that's kind of been a knock on him in the first place. But I mean, he didn't have time. I mean, he got that one play. He was so blown away by Kemoko Turay. It was crazy.
And then we got to give our props to Ben Banigou. We talked about how Ben Banigou, it's time to put up or shut up. And he's put up, that's for sure. He's having sacks on almost every single day of practice. Now, you can't hit the quarterback, obviously, in practice, but he's making plays, creating pressure, not only against the second team guys, but when he does face some of the guys that are borderline first team players as well.
Yeah.
And the next step for these guys, kind of like with Eason, Banigou's been stacking days, but now it's time to show it in the game. Don't just be a practice star. Come out in these preseason games and generate a ton of pressure. Get actual sacks when you're actually tackling the quarterback.
Hit some real quarterbacks.
Right. So that'll be this next step against Carolina and then against these other teams here in the preseason. But you have to love what you're seeing from your young pass rushers for the Colts. And then talked about it last week, Bobby Okereke continuing to be an absolute menace and star for this Colts team. This is something that I found interesting, and Stephen Holder from The Athletic was talking about this. There are people within the Colts organization that think Bobby Okereke has the chance to be the Colts' best all-around linebacker. Doesn't mean he's a better player than than Darius Leonard.
Maybe smarter.
But maybe saying best overall linebacker isn't the right way to do it, right way to say it. Maybe the most complete linebacker.
Sure.
Just because of his ability in coverage as well. Because Darius Leonard, everything that he does great, that's one of his weak points is just coverage. Bobby Okereke is phenomenal in pass coverage. So
yeah,
with his ability to cover in that second level, the thing I had talked about was Bobby Okereke really making more plays in the second level by getting those interceptions, creating those turnovers. And if he does that, we're looking at another phenomenal linebacker to pair next to Darius Leonard. Yeah. And it's going to be tough to really do anything in that second level of the Colts defense.
And this is definitely one of those things that you want to be cautiously optimistic about as well, because, again, he is going up against a struggling Colts offense in the first place. However, yeah, he's looking good. Another guy I want to highlight, Darius Leonard, okay? Because he's not there, and the defense is still kicking ass. And I can only imagine what it's going to look like when they're full force again. Xavier Rhodes has missed a lot of camp as well, so Brock has been having a little extra time on the field too. He's starting to look better. I haven't seen, I guess, as many videos of him getting just absolutely roasted.
Brock has looked better this past week. I will give him that.
I've seen some videos of him making some good plays as well.
And really, Rock has been taking the majority of those starter snaps. There really hasn't been anybody that's been pressuring. I mean, I know we talked about Marvell Tell and TJ Carey, but Rock's been able to hold on to it. And so far, Rock has been that other outside corner. Yeah. Xavier Rhodes did come back from the COVID list this week, and it's been the same guys that were there last year. Rhodes and Rock on the outside, Kenny Moore in the slot.
Before we go to the news from yesterday morning, talking about the corners made me think of it. It was Zach Pascal, wasn't it? Zach Pascal put Kenny Moore on his ass, bro.
Hard to do.
Oh, my God. Kenny Moore had to run back 10 yards for the jock, bro. Oh, my. Zach Pascal with the beautiful route showing up Kenny Moore
always
practice.
Underappreciated Zach Pascal.
Oh, my God.
Just does everything right.
That route was disgustingly beautiful. That was one of the best routes I've ever seen. Yeah, like you said, takes a lot to put Kenny Moore on his ass from just getting juked out of his mind. Kind of rude that Darius Leonard and the Colts decided to break some gigantic news yesterday morning. Colts and Darius Leonard agree on a 5-year, $99.25 million extension with $52.5 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid linebacker in NFL history. Fantastic.
Do you have a money ka-ching?
Do I have a ka-ching? Have you guys ever watched the show Bad Beats with Brandon?
Maybe a time or two.
Andrew. Oh, it doesn't go fast enough for me to... Hold on. Here you go. That's not the right one either. It's the outro. Here we go. There's so many waves on the screen right now. There we go. Love it.
Darius Leonard becomes the highest paid off-ball linebacker in the league. It took a little bit longer to get done than they had originally hoped, but 5 years, $99 million, $50-some million guaranteed. And the thing about Darius Leonard too, is that he's not going to be satisfied with this. He said, they paid me for what I did in my first 3 years. Mm-hmm. The same message that Braden Smith said, I got to go out and prove that I'm worthy of this contract.
Yeah.
And he's always going to have that chip on his shoulder, and this is just going to give him more motivation to get better so he can live up to this contract. So we knew it was going to get done. We knew he was going to become the highest paid off-ball linebacker in the league, and I'm glad he's sticking around with the Colts for many years to come.
Yeah, and I talk about this sometimes with the running backs, and we'll talk about it with a quarterback here in a minute. But somebody's like, why would they get... I mean, that's just too much. Why do they want to do this? This is a guy that they're paying for what he's going to do, not what he's done. Zeke Elliott got paid for what he had done. Le'Veon Bell got paid for what he had done. Neither one of them got paid for, realistically, what they were still going to do in this league. Darius Leonard's going to continue to get better. Sorry. And the salary cap, I don't think people realize how big of a jump it's going to make. And the feeling I'm getting, honestly, especially with some of these deals, is that it's probably going to jump back up to close to what it would have been next year anyway, minus COVID.
The thing about Darius Leonard too is that, well, and really this just the entire situation. When you have a player of that talent, anytime that you have a top 5 player at a position, when it's their time to get their contract extension, they're going to be the highest paid player at that position. And that's just how the league works.
Tony Romo, Eli Manning, who's the most ridiculous? Jared Goff.
Kirk Cousins.
There was another one a little farther back, like in like the Eli Manning, Tony Romo era that I can't think of right now. That everybody went, what in the fuck? But carry on.
Yeah, well, anyways, and the thing is, too, Chris Ballard has said it. I'm never going to be mad or upset paying a great player a lot of money. Yep. And the thing is, too, if they don't pay Darius Leonard, what does this say about the culture? I mean, Chris Ballard's always said, I want to draft and pay my own. Well,
and I saw a tweet about that. Chris Ballard, when he came here, he said, I'm going to home grow them and we're going to pay our own. And he's proven that with these last 2 contracts.
Darius Leonard has come here, been a first-team All-Pro twice, second-team All-Pro once, gone to 2 Pro Bowls, pretty much done everything he can for this team. If you don't pay him, that's sending a bad message to the locker room. And then just all the stuff Darius Leonard does in the community. I mean, his foundation, trying to help inner city youth fall in love with math and education. He's just a great guy, and he's the heartbeat of this defense. You need him on his team, and I'm glad he's going to be here for a long time.
Yeah, and things just fall apart if you don't take care of these guys like you should. And everybody's worried. Now we're a little tight. Next year, right? Or this year?
Yeah, this year,
but it's going to get better again.
So this year we have still about $7 million in cap space, which is normal for a team. You kind of want to keep that much space just in case you need to make some moves in the season. But the way the contracts are structured, guys becoming free agents, the Colts next year will still have $60 million in cap space to spend.
Yep. All right, Andrew. We walked into the room here and said, "Oh, this will be a short episode." Here we are, 52 minutes in. Cornerback Xavier Rhodes, cornerback T.J. Carey, defensive end Al-Qadim. And congratulations to Darius Leonard, well deserved. Defensive end Al-Qadim Muhammad and tackle Julian Davenport were all activated off the reserve COVID-19 list, so that's good news.
Colts, I don't think, have any more players on the COVID list, so let's get everybody out there and practicing. And
they're still one of the lowest vaccinated teams.
They're over 70% now, so it's starting to get a little bit better.
Dude, you have to admit, though, I can't remember what player it was from the Panthers, but there was that picture of him like waving to his daughter over on the sideline, and they had to stay up, so far apart, his girl and his daughter. And he goes, "Yeah, it's pretty messed up that I can go practice and stand around one of the least vaccinated teams in the league, but I can't hug my daughter." I was like, "Oof, that's a tough look."
I think the biggest thing is the players are seeing what the protocols are for unvaccinated guys, and that's why they're starting to get vaccinated.
Not fun. That's what we talked about. All right, Andrew, that's it for the Colts. Really, really excited about the Hall of Fame stuff. Really excited for Darius. And you know what? Camp's been fun so far this year. I'm excited for Hard Knocks this week, and I'm excited to see some highlights of
tomorrow. Hard Knocks is on. Well, if you're watching it, it'll be today.
Tonight. Yeah. So excited. NFL news, and then we're done. Bills. Soon to be maybe the Austin, Texas Bills, and quarterback Josh Allen agree on a 6-year, $258 million extension with $150 million guaranteed. I almost played the "don't shit in the porta potty." I want to clap for Josh Allen. Good for him. He's great. He's another player you're paying for what he's going to do.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen has a chance to become a top 5 quarterback in this league this year. Right now,
I mean, he was last year.
He was. I'd put him. When you're looking at it overall, I'd probably put him just on the cusp of that. But Josh Allen, great talent. The Bills are building their team the right way, just like the Indianapolis Colts are.
Yep.
So great job by them to lock him up. And Josh Allen's work ethic, he's just going to continue to get better.
And some people,
absolute superstar.
Some people, and maybe that person's a Tyler Dietering Dolphins fan that hates Josh Allen and the Bills, but at the end of the day, he's got to respect his game. He goes, he's had 1 year of production. No, that's not quite true. His first year was decent. He was getting his feet under him. You could tell. Second year, he made substantial progress. Last year, he was an MVP candidate.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he's progressing every year by large margins. So this is another situation that they're paying this guy what he is going to do for this franchise, and he's going to do some good stuff. Raiders signed defensive tackle Gerald McCoy to a 1-year, $2 million deal. Okay.
There really wasn't a lot of NFL news this
Not really.
week.
No, it was all Hall of Fame based. Hey, there were some other good speeches. I didn't get to stay for all of them. I don't know if you stayed the whole night, Andrew. I'm definitely going to rewatch some of those. I heard some of the employees around kind of going, man, you should have been here last night. There's 15 of these things. I'm like, holy shit. This is every 5 years they do a larger class, or is it 10 years?
I think it was just the because of the centennial class. That's why it was so big. Bill Cowher's speech was really good. So was Jimmy Johnson's. Both coaches did really well. And last night, I thought John Lynch's was very good.
Yeah, I heard some of his.
Calvin Johnson talked a lot about just kind of the struggles of playing football and how he fought through injury and why he retired early. Charles Woodson was a great. I wish Peyton was the last one because it was. I mean, it's Peyton Manning, but Charles Woodson did a very good job as the last guy to go, and his speech brought the house down too. So.
I just got to tell you, I'm really glad he wasn't last because I wouldn't have met Kubiak and I wouldn't have gotten to the hotel quite as early as I did.
Your close personal friend Gary Kubiak.
I've got a lot of close personal famous friends. I got to tell you, I fist bumped Chris Berman. That's probably the most famous dude I've ever been within 0 inches of. I mean, that was very cool.
Love Chris Berman.
Chris Berman's the shit. Think that's it. If I put up the social page, me and Andrew are going to disappear. So, listen, I didn't have a lot of time to prep. I had my first day working from home today on my job. I passed my licensing exam Friday. Go
Congrats.
me. Yeah, go follow us at The Educated Fan at The Educated Fan _. And you know all the other things. If you're watching, like, subscribe. If you're on Apple, I haven't seen any new reviews come through, so just go 5 stars.
Just go review it.
Write down, Brandon's awesome. Andrew sucks.
Andrew's fantastic.
No, listen. Hey, seriously though, I give him shit, but go read his articles on the Horseshoe Huddle, Sports Illustrated, Colts page. Basically, is that how that works? They're really good. And I haven't read his Peyton article today because I worked all day and now I'm here. So I'm looking forward to reading that tonight. Hey, but until next time, guys, God bless you. God bless football, and go Colts.
Go Colts.
I fucking love football, and I love you guys.